Is y'all hoes okay? Bitch, is y'all hoes cool? Hold on. Is y'all hoes cool? Thank you, bitch. I don't give a fuck about none of you hoes. Don't say shit about my friend, bitch. Okay, if she did kill that nigga, what up? Do something about it, bitch. Do something about it. Get a feel, bitch. If she did kill him, what up? Y'all hoes dick rat. What we doing, bitch? Oh, okay. Cause bitch, I'll spit on you hoes. Bitch. Is y'all hoes okay? Bitch. Y'all hoes were about the wrong shit, bitch. Okay, it's an accident. She ran that bitch over. She ran that bitch over.
That voice belongs to a woman defending her friend on Facebook Live. Her friend had just run a man over in a hospital parking lot, left him on the ground, driven away, and then posted about it on social media. The man she ran over, the man this woman is telling people to go bury, he was a food delivery driver. He was 28 years old. He was at work. He went to work that night. That's it. That's all he did. And he never came home. This is the Conviction Files, the channel where we don't sanitize the truth, we don't look away from the uncomfortable, and we never, ever let the victims become footnotes in their own story. What you are about to hear is the complete story of what happened in that hospital parking lot in the early hours of February 23rd, 2026. The events leading up to it, the moment it happened, what came after, and the question that this entire case forces us to sit with. How does someone get to a place where they can drive over a human being and get on Facebook an hour later to laugh about it? Stay with me, because this story goes deeper than the headlines. Before we talk about what happened, before we talk about the woman who did it, the surveillance footage, the Facebook posts, any of it, I need you to understand who Daniel Figueroa was. Because in a lot of coverage of this case, Daniel gets 2 sentences. He was 28. He was an Uber Eats driver. He was killed. That's not enough. That is not nearly enough. Daniel Figueroa was 28 years old. He lived in the western suburbs of Chicago. By all accounts, he was the kind of person this world needs more of: quiet, hardworking, no drama. He worked for Amazon during the day. When his shift ended, he didn't go home and put his feet up. He logged onto Uber Eats and kept going. Not because he had to, because that's who he was. His girlfriend, Sandra Guerrero, said he had just dropped off his last Amazon shift and taken one final Uber Eats order for the night. One last order. Think about that moment. The moment where you decide one more delivery. You're tired, it's past 2 in the morning, but you say, one more. That decision, that single, ordinary, completely reasonable decision, is the reason Daniel Figueroa drove to Loretto Hospital on Chicago's west side in the early morning hours of February 23rd, 2026. He had an order for a doctor who worked the night shift, someone keeping other people alive in the dark hours of the night. Daniel pulled up, parked his van, left it running like every delivery driver does 100 times a week, grabbed the bag, and walked through those hospital doors. It should have taken 4 minutes. He should have walked back out, gotten in his van, driven home, gone to sleep. He never made it back to his van. To understand what happened next, you have to understand who Monontoya Perry was before that night. And I want to be careful here, not careful in the sense of soft, but careful in the sense of accurate, because this case attracted a lot of heat and a lot of noise online, and I think part of that noise came from people filling in blanks with assumptions instead of facts. So let's deal in facts. Monontoya Perry was 33 years old, born and raised in the Chicago area, and if you went through her social media pages before her arrest, before all of this, what you found was not a one-dimensional villain. What you found was something more complicated and more tragic. She talked about her son the way every parent talks about the child they're proud of. In one post that went viral after her arrest, she reflected on his 16th birthday. She wrote, and I'm going to read this directly because her own words matter here. My mama asked me what I was doing for my baby sweet 16 this year. And when I told her, she said, why you doing alat and spending all that money? You ain't even have a party for yo sweet 16. Truth is, I caught my first case at 16. I stole my teacher car and had to go to the Audi home, and a year later, I was under investigation for a murder, all before 18. But this little boy at 16, he in the house, playing GTA all day, staying out the way. The most trouble he then got into is for smoking weed, and for that I'm more than thankful. I'm so proud of the young man I'm raising, the better version of me, and that's all I could pray for. Read that again. She was proud of him. She wanted better for him. She saw herself in the past tense, a warning, a cautionary tale, and she saw him as the corrected version. By her own account, she spent a decade behind bars for robbery, 10 years. She came out in 2018, and by early 2025, she had done something genuinely significant. She completed parole. All the way through, she posted the paperwork. She celebrated. She wrote, 2025 is off to an incredible start. I'm thrilled to have officially completed my parole. This year is all about exploring new horizons and taking trips, and I'm excited to make unforgettable memories. People in her comments were celebrating with her, and in that moment, that one moment, it looked like maybe she had made it, like the cycle was breaking. But social media tells complicated stories, and Monontoya's story had more chapters. Just a few months later, May 31st, 2025, she posted her own mugshot. Caption, I ain't never scared to take a risk. I know life a gamble. Then in September 2025, she reshared an old post from 2023. It read, MY biggest fear is somebody stealing my car at the gas station with MY box in it. The box, the GPS monitoring ankle bracelet from house arrest. When she reshared it, she added her own commentary. Thank God I don't have that house arrest box anymore and nobody never stole my car. We'll come back to that line. By February 2026, Monontoya Perry had 8 prior felony convictions on her record: aggravated battery, burglary, forgery, and at the time this case begins, she was already out on pretrial release for a separate charge, an obstruction charge from just weeks before. She was already in the system's sights, and 11 days before everything collapsed, February 12, 2026, she posted, can't do shit right in Illinois. Every time I take a step forward, I get knocked back 2 more. Leaving in 2 months, hopefully, I get it right in another state. She never got the chance. Here's what the cameras saw. 3 people are walking down the street. It's just after 2 in the morning. The Austin neighborhood of Chicago's West Side is quiet. The kind of quiet that only comes at 2 a.m. when the people who are supposed to be out are out and everyone else is asleep. One of the 3 is wearing a distinctive brown coat, pink sweatpants. That is Monontoya Perry. Daniel Figueroa's van is parked outside Loretto Hospital, engine running. He went inside less than 5 minutes ago. He's on his way back out. Monontoya walks up to the driver's side door. She opens it. Inside that hospital, Daniel Figueroa is finishing the handoff. He's done his job. He delivered the food. He's turning around to walk back to his van. He comes through the doors. He sees them. And this is the moment, the single most important moment in this entire story, where everything that comes after gets decided. Daniel Figueroa runs toward his van, not away from it, toward it. Some people have asked why. Why run toward 3 people who are clearly trying to take your vehicle? Why not just let them have it? And the answer is, we don't know exactly what went through his mind. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe everything he needed was in that van. Maybe, at 2 in the morning, after a double shift, he just didn't process the danger fast enough. Maybe he thought if he got to the passenger door, he could stop them. Maybe he just acted like a human being whose property was being taken. And human beings, when someone takes what's theirs, sometimes run toward the problem instead of away from it. That's not stupidity, that's humanity. Prosecutors say Daniel reached for the passenger side door. Monontoya accelerated. Daniel fell to the ground, and the rear passenger tire of his own van rolled over his body. She kept going. The van turned out of the parking lot and disappeared into the night. Daniel Figueroa was left on the ground in a hospital parking lot at 2 a.m. The doctor he had just delivered food to, the man Daniel had just done his job for, walked out of those same hospital doors minutes later. and found him. That doctor called 911. Daniel Figueroa was transporting to an area hospital. He did not survive. Montoya Perry drove Daniel Figueroa's stolen van to Maywood, and then she went on Facebook. I want you to really sit with this, not just hear it. Sit with it. Daniel Figueroa's body had not yet been taken from that parking lot. His family didn't know yet. His girlfriend didn't know yet. His father didn't know yet. And Montoya Perry was on Facebook. She posted, "The shit we had to do to get home is crazy, but we made it, and if you missing a car, you can come get it. We don't want it." Read that one more time. "If you're missing a car, you can come get it." She said that about Daniel's van, about the vehicle she had just used to run a man over. You can come get it. He couldn't come get it. He was never going to be able to come get it. And whether she knew he was dead in that moment or not, and we'll come back to that question, she knew what had happened in that parking lot. She felt the van go over his body. You don't miss that. There is no version of that story where you don't feel a human being go under your tires. She felt it, and she posted. The post came down when it became clear Daniel had died, but the internet doesn't forget. Chicago detectives didn't need much time. Loretto Hospital's surveillance system gave them clear footage, multiple angles, multiple cameras. They had a direction of travel. They had 3 faces. They had a distinctive brown coat and pink sweatpants. And they had Daniel's van, a van that still had its license plate. License plate reader technology, the automated camera systems posted throughout Chicago that photograph plates and cross-reference them against databases in real time, picked up Daniel's van moving through the city. Within hours of the murder, it led investigators straight to Maywood. When officers arrived, Montoya Perry was still there, still wearing the brown coat, still wearing the pink sweatpants, the same outfit from the surveillance footage. She was placed under arrest and charged with murder in connection with a forcible felony and vehicular hijacking. 2 additional suspects were identified from the same surveillance footage. All 3 had been seen walking together toward that parking lot before Daniel Figueroa ever came back through those hospital doors. The case from an evidentiary standpoint was airtight before the arraignment even began. Both families were in that courtroom. Think about what that means. Daniel Figueroa's family, his mother, his father, the people who raised him, who loved him, who were still trying to understand how their son went to work and didn't come home. They sat in those seats and watched the justice system begin its process. And Montoya Perry's family was there too. People who loved her, people who had watched her come home from prison, who had celebrated with her when she completed parole, who were now watching something else entirely unfold. 2 families, both in grief, both in the same room. The judge looked at Montoya Perry and did not soften his words. He said, "You left him there. You struck him with the vehicle basically like he was garbage and just left him there." She reportedly cried, and the internet had something to say about that too, because her booking photo had already been circulating. In the mugshot, Montoya Perry appeared to be smiling. That contrast, smiling in the booking photo, crying in the courtroom, became its own flashpoint online. The judge ordered her detained without bond, 8 prior felony convictions, already on pretrial release for a separate charge. The math wasn't complicated. After the hearing concluded, something happened that nobody needed. In the hallway of that courthouse, a space already saturated with grief and anger and pain, Montoya Perry's family and Daniel Figueroa's family crossed paths, and the tension broke. A physical altercation, 2 people handcuffed, 2 families who both deserved to mourn without violence, and couldn't even get that. Daniel's father stood outside and said, "My family did love him. He was a good kid. He was too young to die. A parent isn't supposed to bury their children. There is nothing to add to that." Now I need to talk about something that a lot of coverage has glossed over or leaned into for shock value without really examining what it means. Because after Montoya's arrest started spreading online, one of her friends went live on Facebook, and what that woman said, the things that came out of her mouth while a 28-year-old man's family was planning his funeral, I'm not going to play the full uncut version here, but I'm going to tell you what she said because it is part of this story, and pretending it isn't doesn't honor Daniel Figueroa. She said if she did kill him, what up? Do something about it. And then later, he's dead. Go bury him. Go bury him. That's what she said about a 28-year-old man who was making a food delivery at a hospital, about someone's son, about someone who, hours earlier, was alive and working and had plans for tomorrow. Go bury him. I've seen some commentary online saying we shouldn't air that footage, that it just gives that woman attention, that it spreads more pain. And I understand that argument, but here's the counter to it. Silence about what happened in that live stream lets the narrative get rewritten. It lets people say this was just a carjacking gone wrong, that everybody involved is grieving, that it was complicated. The live stream tells you something important in some circles. In the hours after a man was run over and left for dead, there were people who responded not with shock, not with horror, not even with quiet loyalty, but with celebration, with taunting, with go bury him. That is part of the truth of this case, and the truth of this case matters. I want to talk about what happened in the comment sections, not to stoke anything, but because Daniel Figueroa deserves a complete accounting of what was done to him and what was said about him after. Daniel Figueroa was Latino. Montoya Perry is black, and in the days after the arrest, some of the people defending Montoya made it about that. Comments calling Daniel racial slurs. Comments referencing Trump and immigration policy as justification for not caring about his death. Comments telling Latino commenters they didn't belong in the conversation. And I want to say something directly here without equivocation. If the races were reversed, if a Latino man had run over a black Uber Eats driver, left him dying in a parking lot, posted on social media to brag about it, and his friends went live saying go bury him, the exact same people defending Montoya would have been outraged. Rightfully so. They would have been right to demand justice, because it is wrong either way. A 28-year-old man went to work and didn't come home. That is the story. That should be the whole story. Turning Daniel Figueroa's death into a racial scorecard is its own injustice, an injustice committed against his memory, against his family, against what little dignity grief is supposed to provide. One commenter, clearly exhausted by the whole spectacle, wrote, "If the roles were reversed, nobody would be making these ignorant comments. A man is dead. He was at work. That's the beginning and the end of it. They were right." There is something about this case that doesn't let go of me, and it's not the surveillance footage, as disturbing as that is. It's not the Facebook post, as callous as that was. It's not even the live stream. It's this. 11 days before Daniel Figueroa was killed, Montoya Perry posted, "Can't do shit right in Illinois, leaving in 2 months." She wanted out. She saw the spiral she was in. Some part of her knew. And Daniel Figueroa was at work, doing his job, making his last delivery of the night. Two people who, in different circumstances, might never have crossed paths at all. One of them made a decision, a choice. In a parking lot at 2 in the morning, she could have gotten in that van and driven away. She could have driven carefully. She could have stopped when he reached for the door. She accelerated. And a 28-year-old man who had done nothing except show up for work was left on the ground in a hospital parking lot. Daniel Figueroa's mother, Elena Rivera, spoke outside the courthouse after Montoya was ordered detained. She said, "I'm happy in my heart she's being detained and the case is moving forward. There's no doubt in my mind she did it, and she did it with intent to hurt and left my son there to die." Left my son there to die. A mother had to say those words out loud in front of a courthouse to a camera. That sentence, "left my son there to die," that is the sentence that follows this case forever. As of the time of this video, Montoya Perry remains held without bond at Cook County Jail. She is charged with felony murder in connection with a forcible felony and vehicular hijacking. Her next court date is March 18, 2026. 2 additional suspects connected to the carjacking were identified from surveillance footage. Specific charges against them had not been formally detailed at the time of this report. The evidence in this case is substantial. Surveillance footage from multiple cameras at and around Loretto Hospital, license plate reader data tracking the stolen van, the Facebook post made after the incident, and Montoya Perry's own clothing still on her body at the time of arrest. The state of Illinois will now decide what justice looks like for Daniel Figueroa. His family will be in that courtroom. And his name, the name the internet tried to reduce to a punchline in a live stream, his name will be spoken every time that case is called. Daniel Figueroa was 28 years old. He worked hard. He showed up. He took one more order at the end of a long night because that's what he did. He walked into a hospital with a delivery bag and never walked back out to his van. His girlfriend Sandra said he had just dropped off his last Amazon order of the night when he took that Uber Eats job, his last delivery. She will have to live with that, the knowledge of what one more meant. His father will have to live with the words he said outside that courthouse. A parent isn't supposed to bury their children. And Montoya Perry, whatever she wanted for her future, whatever version of herself she was trying to become, she will have to live with what she chose in that parking lot, what she did with those few seconds, what she drove away from. Daniel Figueroa, 1997-2026, rest in peace. If this story moved you, if you believe that a man who goes to work at 2 in the morning deserves more than 2 sentences in a headline, subscribe to the Conviction Files. We don't cover cases for clicks. We cover them because the names behind the numbers deserve to be remembered, not as statistics. As people, hit subscribe, drop a comment, tell me what you think justice looks like for Daniel Figueroa, and share this video. The more people who know his name, the more his story lives on. Rest in peace, Daniel.